Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, and we're dishing out on the movies, and it's the day before Thanksgiving. Woo! And our next horror movie is a classic British Hammer studio flick entitled Brides of Dracula.
Brides of Dracula?
Oh, wait, is it Brides or Bride?
Brides of Dracula?
No, Marco. Just out of curiosity, Marco and I suppose that all of the wonderful British actors who starred in this movie have passed away. Kind of like when I do genealogical research where everyone has been dead for a few centuries. Surprisingly enough, one actress, Andre, and that may not be how you say her name, Melly, who played Gina, Dracula's second bride, is still alive. She is 86 years old. Just a bit of trivia today.
I hope something doesn't happen next month because you had to say that.
What do you mean?
You know, like you said, oh, she's the only one still alive, and then next month,
Well, hopefully she'll.
Maybe she's a real vampire.
Well, a couple of these people, they have died in their 60s, so.
Yeah.
But Peter Cushing is actually, he just died a few years ago. People still honor him and cherish him because he was so good and beloved. Anyway, the main characters are Peter Cushing as Dr. Van Helsing, a doctor and vampire hunter. Yvonne Monlaura as Marianne, the innocent, totally naive, foolish French girl who arrives in the area to teach in a private girls' school. David Peel as Baron Meister, the latest vampire from an aristocratic family who was recently chained up in the castle, wearing his nicest clothes and appearing clean, neat, and nicely coiffed. And Baroness Meister, played by Myrtita Hunt, the vampire's mother, who tries desperately to save him from the public.
Vampires have mothers too.
And as another little trivia, she played Miss Havisham in, is it Oliver Twist? No.
Great
Great
Expectations.
Expectations. Sorry.
She played her in the old one.
Yes. She played the old lady who burned up in the fire. According to IMDb, this film takes place in Transylvania, but that is impossible because everyone is British. So we'll just say it takes place in a British rural community somewhere near an old castle.
In my opinion, none of the Hammer movies look like they take place in Transylvania. I've always held the opinion that these were movies that took place in the English countryside somewhere. Like it's never ever appeared to me that this was Transylvania.
Well, for me, other movies, they at least have the villagers. They would be dressed up more like Eastern Europeans with their embroidery and their peasant blouses and colorful skirts, and all in their costumery looked like they were in Eastern Europe at the minimum.
God forgive me because Subspecies looks more like Transylvania than this movie. Do you agree with that, Safi? I think that Subspecies did a good job. Like,
yeah.
That's like one compliment I can give that crappy piece of shit movie is the set design and the location and everything. That all looked like it would be in Transylvania. But this movie, no way.
Every time I hear the name of that movie, I think of worms or some kind of bug that lives below the ground, and I can't. I had to think for a minute. Oh yeah, that's right. That was a vampire, or a couple of vampires. I just can't get over that.
Remember the Subspecies is the name of the creatures that came from his fingers.
Right, but still, just the movie when you say that. I can't get over the title. I just can't. So, anyway, on the way to her new job, Mary Ann's carriage stops in front of a bed and breakfast tavern. However, she is sidetracked by Baroness Meister, who asks her to stay the night before reaching her final destination, the school. The Baroness has a son, though, who is shackled because he has some kind of mental problem, she says. During the night, Mary Ann sees him and thinks he's preparing to jump off a large embankment from the castle. But how can that be if he's shackled? I guess she forgot. She yells stop to him out the window and runs downstairs.
No, she couldn't see the shackle.
I know that, but his mother told her.
No, she didn't say that he was chained to a post. She just said that he was locked up in his room.
So he was locked up. Well, okay. All right. Observing his shackles and his very handsome and perfect hair and clothes, she decides to help him when he begs her for the key to unlock his shackles. It's in his mom's room. His mother sees her searching for the key, but is too late. Dum-dum Mary Ann throws the key to him, and he escapes. His mother cries, "What have you done, you airhead? Why in the hell did you give him the key? I mean, why would I shackle up my handsome son in his designer threads and perfect hair for nothing?" I just made up this last part, but the little French girl drove me crazy. Okay, go ahead.
Well, she drove you crazy, and you think that she's an airhead, but guess what? I watched the trailer for this movie. Here's a little fun fact. One of my favorite quote movies as a kid was this VHS, and it was basically a VHS that had all the trailers to every Dracula or vampire movie ever made.
Oh yeah, I
up to
remember
a certain
that.
point.
We still have that?
Yeah, and I loved watching it, and I still would watch it again because it was just it was so entertaining because all these trailers they give so much away, and so like it's almost like you're watching a movie within itself. And I remember the Brides of Dracula trailer because it was a very good trailer even though it gave a lot away. A lot of stuff away that it should not have given. If you watch this movie, do not watch the trailer. But I watched the trailer again today. Guess what the narrator calls the French girl?
What?
He says that the movie's introducing her as France's latest sex kitten.
Oh, God.
Like what does that mean?
There's no nudity as far as I remember in this movie.
That's what he says, Safi.
Okay, I don't know.
I'm not kidding. That's what he said. And I was like, what is he talking about? Like, it feels like that was the actual guy and he just ad-libbed that line and he saw her and he just couldn't help himself from saying that. But that was really weird. And that really feels like what she's meant to do in this movie because she's not smart or capable or strong or anything, which is fine. I don't care if you have a female character who's like that because they do that to male characters all the time, especially in these Hammer movies. But anyways, and because her character, I mean, she basically is just there to be attractive. And because there are several moments where you're wondering why is she doing the thing that she is doing, and it's like, oh, because she's the dumb pretty girl, and I'm fine with that because really the true hero of this movie is Van Helsing, and he comes in the movie, and so I really felt like though that she should have died. I felt like you've had enough. You've had 30 minutes of seeing her walking around, looking pretty. You can have her get killed now by the vampire, and then you can have another girl take her place as the star, because like they kind of did with Prince of Darkness, that other crappy Hammer movie. But I actually really liked this movie a lot. I liked it as a kid quite a bit, and I remembered significantly always like skipping to the end where they have the confrontation and I won't give anything else away, but I mean, there's got to be a confrontation from someone to someone.
It's like playing a
And
video game and you get the
yeah,
final boss.
yeah,
Okay.
and I used to skip to that part all the time and just watch that one part. I didn't care as a kid to watch this dumb French girl walking around saying, "I dare, I dare." Remember that, Safi? He's like, he's someone's like, "You wouldn't dare, you would dare trying to let me out of my chains," and she's like, "I dare."
Brother.
And so, anyways, but let's move away from her now. She's clearly, she reminds me of, remember season 3 of Twin Peaks, when there was that girl who was like a space cadet, and she was like really slow, and she was just like, remember her, the girl
No.
in pink with the blonde hair and the pink outfit, Candy.
Oh, okay. I think so.
That's what this girl is like. But this girl's slightly better. She's a better actress than the one on Twin Peaks for sure. So the vampires, and one of the things that I really like about this movie is that the vampires are not speechless monsters like in Christopher Lee's movies. And I'm not trying to talk bad about Christopher Lee's movies, but this is called Brides of Dracula. I mean, very weird title. It should have been, but the reason why they did that because they thought, and they were right. If this movie was called Brides of what was the guy's name, Safi? What was the Baron whatever?
Meister.
If
Baron Meister.
if this movie was called Brides of Meister, then no one would have saw it.
Seen it.
Whatever. No one would have seen it in theaters. So they had to call it Brides of Dracula.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and it's something you have to think about because audiences are stupid, and they won't go see a movie called Brides of Meister unless it's called Brides of Dracula. And in this movie, it actually, I looked up, originally it was called Disciple of Dracula. And I think that's a much better title,
I
but
do
then
too.
then again, you'd have to tie it in somehow to Dracula.
Well, they'd have to add to the story,
Yeah.
the backstory that Dracula is like Santa Claus. There's a real Santa Claus, and then there's all of his, what do they call it? His
Disciples.
Well, yeah, well, it's the same
That's what I
thing.
said.
So Dracula, I mean, he must have gotten somebody pregnant somewhere.
What?
So there's other
But
little Draculas
it
around.
It would have been the Baroness that he got pregnant.
Oh yeah.
Which, I don't know. I mean, that would confirm, if that was true, that would confirm, but it's not true because he wasn't born a vampire. That was explicitly said in the movie.
Okay,
so
Dracula would have bitten several people. I mean, he could buy. It was just like that movie we just watched, where they gave that special green concoction to
Reanimator.
to all those corpses in the
Morgue,
and
and
so,
they all come back to life.
yeah, so it would be the same for Dracula. He could go out and bite 20 people, and they live. Supposedly they live forever, right? If they get enough blood.
Yeah.
So that would be 20 disciples or whatever. He could get as many as he wanted to because he has to. They have to keep the blood going.
See that should have been. See, this movie, it's some of its flaws. It's got some flaws, but they're very minor, and this is one of them. It really should have had a bigger plot that connected the movies and made it clear why this is his disciple, because there's no reason for him to just go around biting men to make them disciples other than I have a plan.
And there
I
wasn't
want
any male Draculas or male vampires in here but him,
yeah
right? It was
yeah
all women.
and well duh, and they're not going to show that in a Hammer '60s movie. But anyways, yeah, the disciple thing is just weird. It should have been like a plan. Dracula decided to bite. Dracula decided to recruit several barons or whatever you call them around the countryside, and so that he can maintain power over all the villages. And these barons will do this and this and we will have supreme control over all these people, and we'll work together to cause a reign of terror. I don't know, but you come up with something like in this movie. There's no reason for him to have been bitten from anyone. I mean, there's no connection. There's no way that he became a vampire other than someone bit him, and so who bit him? I mean, that's a huge question, but it doesn't really affect the movie. But again, I liked how this guy speaks. I liked the fact that he wasn't just walking around going, "Ugh, ugh." He talked, and he had a character to him, and he was the seemingly, oh, he's this gentleman guy, and but then he'll turn his face around, and then he'll turn back, and boom, he's a vampire. Hiss, 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 and so yeah. This movie, I do feel like there is another issue I will talk about in spoilers, but for now, the only other issue that I had that I can just vaguely talk about is the ending. I thought that the ending was kind of a. I thought that they had something really cool, and I remember not liking the ending either as a kid. They had something really cool where something happens, but then they don't really follow up and do something that they needed to do, which led me to not really know what happened. And so, yeah. All in all, I really like this movie. I would say that it's better than every other Hammer Dracula movie except for Dracula AD 1972. But I'm also having trouble. I don't know if I can say that it's better than the Vampire Lovers. But yeah, that's my opinion for now. Safi,
Yes?
what's your review?
Well, I would give this movie a good breakfast. Because I liked the movie too. I thought it was short, sweet, and pretty complete. And it was very colorful. And I liked the vampire and all the main stars. I liked their costumery and the music. I just thought it was just a very nice little movie. And so I give it a full breakfast, which would be like a sunny side up egg with crispy bacon and a good piece of toasted nut bread and strawberry jelly for blood. And Marianne would be the cream puff extra you might buy at the local bakery to go with your breakfast meal.
You call her a cream puff?
Yeah, she was a cream puff. Because there was a lot of when you make a cream puff, you have a lot of air in your dough because that's the space where you put the cream. I'm making Marco laugh, but anyway, I thought there was a few. I mean, it wasn't enough to take away the story from me, but there were a few errors like the uncertainty, which Marco hasn't mentioned yet. He will in the spoilers, I suppose, as how a vampire in general really dies besides the usual stake in the heart. Everybody knows that one. Also, where it took place, and I already brought that up, that I just said it takes place in a British countryside.
Transylvania,
And it
quote
says,
unquote.
It says on the IMDb site it takes place in Transylvania, but that's impossible. There's no ethnic, Eastern European music. There's no embroidery, colorful embroidery, and puffy blouses, and beautiful skirts, and headdresses and all the stuff they have for Eastern
It's
Europe.
all British people, even the British townspeople, all British.
Yeah, everybody. There's not one ethnic
Well,
style person.
there's the French cream puff.
Well, yeah, she's French though, and she's actually she's dressed up like a European, like a British person. So whatever. So also the vampire, we just talked about this too. He wasn't called Dracula, and that was different. And I thought the ending was very dramatic and eventful. I guess Marco criticized it because he thought that it could have had a little bit more completeness.
It wasn't complete.
And I just thought it was kind of like when you watch a TV show and they have something go on and they fight the monster, or they find the criminal, or the two people find each other and they end up being in love. It's just like it's a general overall type ending, but there's some details that could have made it better or more explicable or something, and that's what I think Mark was talking about.
It really seemed like they didn't have a budget. Like they couldn't do anything more because they couldn't afford to do the effects. And so let's just end it here. Or let's not do this. Let's not show this. Let's just end it here. And I felt a little bit disappointment too. There were some scenes where you wouldn't even see people getting bitten. In fact, I don't think there was one scene in the movie. Oh wait, there's the one scene, but there's all the other times in the movie where people get turned into vampires or killed. You never get to see the bite itself.
Well,
I think that's a very big flaw, because in other Dracula movies you get to see that bite.
Well, he bit Peter Cushing.
That's a spoiler, Safi.
Well, but there's so much more.
I haven't even given my review yet.
Well, also
that's a spoiler.
Okay, well, we did see.
Don't spoil
we did see another one of his wives, quote wives.
Oh, you're spoiling it.
Well, Mark was saying that you didn't get to really see it.
You didn't get to see that one. They cut away. They cut away. He went for her neck, and then they cut away.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought this was the best horror movie that we've seen so far.
Really?
Actually.
You think this is better than Reanimator?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, Safi. You need to... Okay.
I like Peter Cushing. I thought he is just such a wonderful actor.
Peter Cushing.
He's so professional and rich.
Well, he's a hero. He's a hero.
Yeah.
He's very heroic. Like, you never question, oh, is he the bad guy or the good guy?
Right. Well, no, wait, that's not true. Remember that one movie where...
Those Frankenstein movies are different because that's a different character. I mean, is Van Helsing.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
God, Safi. Peter Cushing needs to come back from the dead and give Safi a talking to about Reanimator, because I'm not going to say anything more, because that's a different video entirely. What did we like more than this and that? Because we both seen this movie before, and yes. I thought it got even better now.
Yeah, I agree.
Because when you're a kid, you just skip to the good parts and you don't even care about the story. But when you grow up, you watch the whole story and really appreciate the characters and everything. Or I guess the sex kitten, as you call her.
I didn't call her that. You did.
Well, no, the creepy...
I called her an airhead.
The creepy British guy in the trailer called her that. I didn't call her that. But anyways, I've said that about 1 million times in this review. My rating for this movie, I was thinking this is... I don't know how to do... I don't want to make it sound insulting. But, I mean, it's not a high-quality movie. It's got some parts where there's story problems. It doesn't look like Transylvania at all. and the only thing that they really have going for it is Peter Cushing being in the movie. Like everything else, if this movie didn't have Peter Cushing, it would have been like an indie movie, like a professional indie movie. And so this movie, I don't think that it's like a high quality dessert, like a top tier pudding or what else is high quality? A cake. I thought that this movie deserved something different and something more simple, but still really really good to have once in a while. And it's a little sweet because it's really satisfying, but then it kind of wears off, and you're kind of like, yeah, that was a good movie, but let's get on to the great movies. Because this movie, I mean, it doesn't really have any depth to it. It doesn't have anything more. It's a horror movie. It's Brides of Dracula, but that doesn't mean it's a bad movie or anything like that. But it is the top tier of the vampire genre, in my opinion. I put this in the top 10 best vampire movies. And so I thought Brides of Dracula, meaning I would give this review multiple different things. And so I give this movie a plate of cookies, of different varieties of cookies from Kroger. Kroger used to have these different kinds of cookies. They would have chocolate chip, sugar cookies, snickerdoodles, M&M cookies, peanut butter cookies, and then chocolate cookies. And oh yeah, and the cranberry cookies.
That was Subway.
No, Kroger used to have cookies with cranberry parts in them.
Now they also had the Ranger cookie.
And whatever that is. And so
it's a mixture of things. It has peanut butter in it, but it also has other stuff.
And because this is something that I used to eat a lot as a kid, I would come home from school when I was a really little kid. When I would come home from school, I would have a plate of a cookie, or I would have cookies, and then I would have a cup of milk or a cup of fruit punch. I really liked Hawaiian fruit punch as a kid, and I still do. I actually have sugar-free Hawaiian fruit punch that I like drinking once in a while. And so I give this movie a plate of cookies with a cup of fruit punch. Of course, the fruit punch represents the blood. But something else I quickly added when Safi said something in this review is she called the sex kitten cream puff an airhead, and so I thought, oh okay. Something else I used to do as a kid is once in a while I would sneak a piece of candy once in a while, and so let's just say this is a plate of cookies as well as an airhead that I sneaked secretly. And the airhead is on the plate. You eat that first, and then you eat the cookies. And so yes, I give this an airhead. I would say probably my favorite airhead flavor is the blue raspberry, and so I give that a blue raspberry airhead. I mean, you can't. There's nothing more to her character. I mean, that's all she's there for, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Because some movies can have that, and they improve the quality of the movie. And this is kind of the case. And so then I give the cookies chocolate chip cookie for the Brides of Dracula. And spoiler alert, there's two kind of brides in this movie. They're female vampires. They're in their white gowns. They've got the vampire teeth.
They're nighties. They're wearing their nighties.
Yeah.
Because they got bitten during the night when they had their nighties on.
They just stand around and do nothing. And just stare. I'm not kidding. Go watch the end of this movie. Literally, all they do is just stand there on the balcony and watch the fight happen. And so
they make faces in reaction to what's going on. United faces. Like they're owls
robots.
or kittens, in the videos where the tennis ball's going back and forth, and you see them move their heads in unison together. That they were doing this. It's almost like they were directed to do that, like they're going, oh, not saying it, but they have the oh mouth, so both of them have at the same time, or they would move their eyes and
That
look.
was weird.
That was funny.
Ooh.
Remind me of a YouTube video of kittens and puppies.
Oh no, we can't let Van Helsing do that. Oh, but we can't do anything because we're on the balcony. God, that was dumb. But their chocolate chip cookies, they're very generic. Very, very... I like chocolate chip cookies. Those were my favorite as a kid, but I preferred them when they were homemade. And these girls were not homemade. Vampire girls. And so then I give the Baron Meister, which weird vampire name. I don't know what vampire would name himself Baron Meister.
Well, Baron is their title.
I don't care.
Meister, it's German.
The script person, the writer of the script, he said, it would be really cool, Baron Meister. That's dopey. That's so dopey. And so I give him these cookies. I wouldn't eat as much as a kid, but I like them a lot with milk. And there's no milk in this movie. He is a peanut butter cookie. And so we have chocolate chip cookie, a peanut butter cookie, and finally Van effing Helsing chocolate cookie. 2 of them, by the way. 2 chocolate cookies. Because if you want to see a movie with Van Helsing at his best, you don't watch Horror of Dracula, where he's just generic book Van Helsing. You don't watch Dracula 1972, which is still my favorite Dracula movie. You watch Brides of Dracula, because it's his movie, and once he enters the picture, he kicks the sex kitten cream puff to the side, and he takes over everything, and he just demolishes all the vampires easily too. I mean, he'll pull something out of his jacket, and you better hope it's not something that's gonna kill you, because he has it's like Batman with the utility belt, just pulling whatever he has out of his coat. I mean, this huge thick coat. He's so cool. And chocolate cookies were my favorite as a kid. I loved eating those. Unfortunately, Kroger doesn't have them anymore, which is ironic since Peter Cushing is dead, and so there's no Peter Cushing anymore either. So it's very fitting. And the fruit punch is representative of the blood, the simple story, but the great effects too. There are some great effects in this movie. In particular, let's go to spoilers now. Spoiler alert. My favorite part of the movie is near the end where Van Helsing gets bitten. And this is the only bite that we kind of see, and I love that because it's such a surprise. Van Helsing gets bitten, and he pulls his face off, and he looks so happy that he just bit Van Helsing. Just think about this, people. Dracula himself never got to bite Van Helsing. Baron Meister got to bite Van Helsing. And it's such a cool scene, because then after that, he's like, okay, you wanted to do that? Well, I'm just going to do this now. And then he goes over, he puts some iron in the fire coals, and then he burns his bite, and then he
cauterizes it.
Yeah, but then he squirts holy water on it, and it disappears.
The whole bite, the whole wound, everything disappears. It's back to normal.
And that was cool. That was so cool. And that's the part I liked watching as a kid. And then, of course, you have the part where Baron Meister comes in.
Well, I think those 2 vampire girls.
No, they don't do
weren't
anything.
I think they were watching.
They were watching. They were just standing
the wound
there.
Get better.
They were just standing there watching, and so that was funny. But then Baron Meister comes back in, and he gets burnt in the face, and that was cool too. I liked that as a kid. And but then something happens. This is my point, because I take long to make my points, but it's always worth it. Then he for some reason, Baron Meister kicks over the coals and basically sets the place on fire, and and that was funny. They actually show that in the trailer, and in the trailer they make it look like he just stands there like an idiot. You know, Baron Meister, like he just stands there like, ooh, what are you gonna do now? And and that's kind of what he does, and then he stumbles outside and he escapes, and then he goes up to this mill, Van Helsing does, and he turns the mill himself to make a cross, a giant cross, and it just it basically they say that it kills him. And that was disappointing to me, because in the movie they said that you can only kill a vampire with fire or a stake. And so I think it would have been really cool if he's like, oh, okay, now that you're down, I'm going to stake you. And then he just pulls a stake out of his shirt or his pocket or something, and then he stakes him. Or maybe he gives it to her and makes her stake him. Because to be honest, after all the shit that she caused the whole movie, it would have been a really badass moment if he gave her a stake and he's like, you know what, young lady, you need to do something now. You need to do this. I'm not going to do it for you, because you started this and now you're going to end this. And then she goes up to him and she stakes him, and then she says, I dare! I dare! And so, yeah, that was very disappointing ending, and that was my one big flaw with this movie, was that ending. And the two vampire girls, they got burnt up, which that was disappointing too. We didn't get to see any of that, but again, it felt like budgetary constrictions. And now the last thing, this video is so long, I want to talk about is Baron Meister. He's imprisoned by his mother. He's chained up to a post in his room, and he has a nurse taking care of him. And, excuse me, she takes such good care of him that his hair is perfectly combed, his teeth are sparkling white, he looks perfectly bathed, like he bathes every single day with a sponge bath, bubble bath, and then he's wearing a nice gentleman suit, and it's just, oh my god, look, it's this perfect Baron Meister standing here. And I thought that was stupid. I really think that what they should have done was had him in the corner naked and unbathed, and his hair's all out of whack, and there's no lights in the room though, so you can't see him. All you can do is hear him. And so she gets like a candle and she takes it up to see him, and she takes the candle up to him, and then she sees him, but we don't get to see him, and then she screams and she runs to get the key. Like that would have been more believable to me, for her to have gone and do that. That would have made more sense. But the way that it happens in the film, he's just this gentleman standing there, and oh, I dare, and so then she goes and gets the key and helps him escape. And we haven't even mentioned his mom. His mom played a part in the movie. She was like a tragic character, just like she was in Great Expectations. And so I actually thought she did a good job. She was perfect for the part. They couldn't have gotten anyone better. And then also the nurse did a fantastic job in this movie. She was very, very creepy. She had a witch's cackle, and she actually spoke to the ground and helped this. She was like telepathically speaking to this vampire, helping her get out of the dirt. That was really cool and very, very creepy and gross. And so, yeah. Do you have anything else to say about this movie, Safi?
Yeah, I'll just say one more thing. Another reason why I thought she was an airhead, creep,
the cream puff.
the cream puff airhead, was that after she unshackled him and he gets rid of his mother, and you know how he did that, and then he runs away, and she runs away from the castle. She's all upset, and because they said, why did you do that? I already mentioned that, etc., etc. And so Peter Cushing, he's driving by in his carriage. Actually, he's on his way there. He's requested to come there by another very, very minor character. And he finds her, and she's okay, but he takes her back to the tavern, and then they're going to take her on to the school.
Oh, and then he takes her to the school, and then at the school, Baron Meister comes.
Yes.
And this is a really queer scene too. That there's there's a man and a woman, and the woman basically says, "Oh, okay, I'll give you guys 10 minutes," and then she lets Baron Meister in the room with her, and then she closes the door and puts her ear up to the door.
Well, so anyway, he's going to bite her. It looks like weird. But, the husband comes into the room and says, what are you doing? You're not even supposed to be here. And then he introduces himself. But anyway, so pretty soon Peter Cushing comes. And I don't know if it was that same day or maybe it was the next day. And Cream Puff tells him that she's going to marry Baron Meister. And he's like, what?
She said that before, though. She said that when the guy opened the door.
And I thought, what?
Well, what happened was he said, will you be my bride? Meaning, will you be my vampire bride secretly? And so then after she said yes, because she's a cream puff sex kitten.
Dummy.
Then
she said, dummy, dum-dum.
Then he opens his mouth and then he's going to bite her.
His mother had him shackled.
Yeah.
For a reason, not because she was abusing him.
Well, that's a common movie. That's a common romance thing in the 60s or all the time, actually, when you have this really damaged man, and once a woman comes into his life and she can fix him, and so that's her motive is she can fix him. It's not anything wrong with him. He's not insane or evil or anything. She can fix him, and so that plot. I mean that didn't take away from this movie for me. I mean I expect something like that in the 60s. I expect something like that. But all in all, I mean that doesn't take away from the movie in my opinion. And it actually made for a very funny moment when she says, "I'm gonna marry him. I dare to marry him." And then Van Helsing says, "What? What are you thinking?" And then he's like, "Oh, I've got to stay and watch this girl." And in my opinion, he never should have left her side because she's clearly a and so, yeah. I really like this movie a lot. I would definitely watch it again. It used to be free on YouTube to watch, but now you gotta get it on Amazon. Because I actually own the movie. I own it on a Laserdisc. I have a little collection of Laserdisc horror movies. Because I really like how big they are. I think they're a nice display item. And so, goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
See you soon for The Irishman and what's the next movie? The Oblong Box.
That sounds good.